Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And T-Mobile's earnings call for the first quarter just ended. So I wanted to make this video so everything is fresh on my mind. And I wanted to talk about a few things that T-Mobile discussed in the prepared remarks and then also during the Q&A. So the placeholder is the initial press release of the first quarter. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So right off the bat, what was announced during the prepared remarks, as of today, apparently 5G Advanced is now nationwide. That is nationwide everywhere. It's not just in certain pockets, certain markets. It's now available nationwide, according to T-Mobile. So that's the first thing that they announced in the prepared remarks. And then they also announced cutting the price of Starlink by 50%. So originally, when it was first announced after the Super Bowl, or during the Super Bowl for that matter, Verizon and AT&T customers were going to be paying $20 a month per line for the services. Now, T-Mobile cut it down to $10. So now it's only going to cost $10, which I assume is for everyone across the board, right? If you're not on the highest T-Mobile plan, you are probably going to be paying $10 a month per line per month. And the same goes for AT&T and Verizon customers. So those are just some of the new announcements that T-Mobile made during the prepared remarks. Now, one thing that I want to talk about just briefly, T-Mobile is no longer using the terminology overall best network or the best 5G network. During this earnings call, they literally just flat out said, we have the best network. That's what they're saying now. We have the best network. That's the terminology that was used during this earnings call. They're just now saying we have the best network. It's something that I posted over on my X. For those of you who'd like to follow that, a link to that will be in the description below as well. That's just something that T-Mobile is talking about. We have the best network. It's no longer overall. It's no longer the best 5G. It's now we have the best network. That's something that I picked up on from several of the senior level executives that were speaking during the earnings call. Something interesting to note, just an update too, towards the end of the first quarter, T-Mobile achieved 50% upgrades happening on T-Life. That is digitally. That is now a thing. They want to get to 100%, I think mid-year is what they said. They're well on their way of doing that, 50%, right? And that doesn't really tell us much, right? We kind of have to listen and then we kind of break down, right? When they say 50% happening digitally, doesn't necessarily mean that all 50% of those customers did it from their house, right? We still have to take into consideration that if you go into a store, you want to upgrade, the reps will do that for you on the T-Life app, right? So it's not all of a sudden that 50% is just happening all digitally, right? There's still some that are going to the store and they request feedback and help from the reps. So that's something that I wanted to point out as well that was talked about during the call. During the Q&A, we got some good tidbits. T-Priority now is growing and it's probably the biggest growth driver for the company now, since it's like it's a new segment that they're competing in, right? They've been competing in enterprise and small business and all that, but T-Priority is fairly new, right? They've also kind of, I guess, been competing for first responders, but not effectively, right? Now it's T-Priority. So two new cities that were added to the list in terms of police departments. Las Vegas PD is now a part of T-Priority, and Oklahoma City PD now a part of T-Priority. So, and I think they mentioned a couple of other things, but that was the most notable in my book, those two, right? And I'm sure there's some other ones that Kali Field did not disclose, right? She's just giving us a little bit here and there, but there's more deals and more government contracts that T-Priority is getting as well. So we got to keep that in mind. They're not revealing their entire playbook at these quarterly earnings. Another thing, just my takeaways. We didn't really get much else during the call. Everything that I felt was notable and important, I already covered, like, 5G Advanced, the 50% discount now or cut in price on the T-Mobile Starlink partnership with people that are not on the Go 5G Next or Beyond, Experience Beyond. right? They or AT&T and Verizon customers, they're not only paying $10 a month instead of the 20. So T-Mobile immediately cut that, right? It's competitive, right? $20 is crazy. I still think, like I've said in previous videos, $10 a month is crazy too. I think it should be where you can pay when you need it, right? It shouldn't be a monthly fee, in my opinion. But, we covered most of that, just my takeaways. As I've said in previous videos, I put a post out on X as well. T-Mobile, their whole company is structured around growth. They are a growing company. So when there's just a little bit, even just the slightest slowdown, their stock immediately drops. And that's what happened today. On the postpaid nets, T-Mobile did not hit or beat the estimates. They came in roughly around 11,000 below estimates. And what happened? The stock immediately dropped. So as much as it might pain T-Mobile, right? They're going to have to address this. They're going to have to respond. So they're going to have to be more aggressive in the second quarter. They told us during the call that they did not go as hard as they could have. So that tells me they can easily grow the numbers that they want to grow. And that's exactly what they said during the call. Even though we now have new plans that are arguably more expensive because of taxes and fees, right, that are back now, they still gave the same guidance of between 5.5 and 6 million. And they anticipate 50% of that to be new postpaid customers. So they are still growing at a high clip. And that is crazy, right? Just as some of you have said that AT&T, it's hard to figure out how AT&T continues to grow when they don't add value, perks, and none of that. Well, it's kind of crazy that T-Mobile can continue to grow at the clip that they're growing, and they're changing pretty much their entire business model. They're no longer the Un-carrier, so they're changing their entire strategy. And yet they know with confidence, even with tariffs and everything else, they made no change to their guidance. None. They are confident that they can still grow to those numbers. And that was made very clear during the call. They said they can comfortably get to those numbers, right? And if that was not the case, they told us during the call that they would have updated the street on that. It would have been announced today if they felt like they needed to lower that number. So that also signals to me at the same token that the stock dropping the way that it did is an overreaction. If they can still maintain those 5.5 to 6 million, they're going to get there. If they're telling us this, and for those of you who are not familiar, by history, T-Mobile, they underpromise and overdeliver. So they're going to have raise and beat quarters coming up. So get ready. T-Mobile's about to get more and more and more aggressive, right? And that's crazy. I just put out a video a little while ago that Verizon is going to drop something new soon too. Project 624. So that's crazy too. So this industry is competitive. And it's more of an even playing field than it's ever been before. So now if one launches something new, the other has to respond. And I kind of see that kind of a back and forth moving forward. Before the industry, when we had 4 players, Sprint wasn't really that strong. When Sprint was releasing stuff, right, they were trying to bring value. They were trying to do 120 gigs of hotspot. They were trying to drop pricing 50%. For those of you who remember, who've been following the industry for a while, nobody cared. Nobody responded to Sprint. Nobody adjusted their hotspot when Sprint went up to 120 gigs. But now, you guys saw this. For those of you who follow the channel in the industry, Verizon dropped unlimited hotspot, high speed up to 200 gigs. T-Mobile responded immediately. The only odd man out is AT&T, but I'm hearing through the grapevines, some stuff is cooking over there too. So yeah, that's just something that I noted. Some of my takeaways for the earnings call. T-Mobile's very confident. T-Mobile's very confident in their position, in their assets. If you look at their financials, $4.4 billion of free cash flow, right? And that's primarily coming from wireless. That's crazy. Yes, they have a growing and great FWA business that they're going to take to 12 million, but they haven't even really tapped into a real wireline business. and they're growing their financials the way that they are. And even once they close Metronet, Lumos is already closed. Once they close Metronet, they give us the updates on the proceedings of those deals and how they plan to incorporate and how to go to market and all that, right? They're still not 100% owners of those two JV deals. So there's a ton of upside in that in itself. They can still buy the rest of Lumos and Metronet if they choose to. They can do it. Once they have the know-how and they learn, they can own all of those assets. And all of that is financial upside. So everything that they reported at the Capital Markets Day last year, everything that they're reporting on guidance, that they reported in the fourth quarter guidance, right, for the year, they excluded all those deals. Even US Cellular was excluded. So all of that is upside. The synergies, the cash flows, the EBITDAs. I mean, it's all upside on the financials and their growth. So stay tuned for T-Mobile, right? Just objectively looking at some of the stuff. Just stay tuned for T-Mobile. I'm hearing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Just stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. Their network is getting better. They're building out a ton of sites. Their capex is sitting at $9.5 billion, which is clearly enough. They're right in line with, even though they had the highest churn in the industry, they're right in line with everyone else. Verizon came in at 0.90 and AT&T came in at 0.83, and they spend arguably double on capex. Not arguably, it's a fact. They spent double. So it's not like T-Mobile is spending a ton less on capex and their churn is significantly higher. Like if T-Mobile's churn was at 1.5%, just as using an example, and Verizon and AT&T were at 0.8 and 0.9, then I would say, okay, it's time to panic. We need to up the capex. But T-Mobile is able to hit all of their targets without much pushback. They can grow the network. They can grow the financials. They can get any of the M&A deals that they need for the business to prosper and get better. And they're doing it at the same capital envelope that they revealed in 2020 at the 2021 at the Analyst Day post-merger. So it's impressive. I got to call it what it is. It's impressive. Some of the verbiage and the stuff they say during the earnings call, I mean, I don't really care much for it. The best network is subjective. It can be argued, but they're saying it. That's them, not me. That's them, and it is what it is, right? But what can't be argued about is what's on paper, what's on black and white, and the financials are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And Verizon and AT&T really have to monitor that, because now that'll cut into and affect their businesses. But let me know your thoughts in the comments on all of this. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.